ticket falls out with the same numbers on.
Because it turns out they buy the same numbers every week and they haven't communicated
Is that
to
allowed
each
then,
other.
two people in this with the same name? I didn't know that was allowed.
To do what?
No, why these lottery tickets? I think it should be restricted to one per family.
Do you?
No, no.
You've got to spread the wealth.
Look,
You know the concept of a lottery? You know.
Yeah, funnily enough, it's not something we do.
well, I've
Because I don't
I
want
had
to
a
cock
feeling.
my leg up and hold a glass of champagne.
Okay.
No, but that's what they make you do.
No,
Why
I'd do
can't you
that.
just win
I'd
it
do
and go
that.
back to your life?
I'd do that for 300 grand.
I was disappointed, but I'd sort of got to like this club at the beginning of the story, but at the end there was a picture of them squirting champagne, the way people feel they if you give them the best squirting. And I think,
You say, I think we'll call it almost champagne.
well, whatever it was, I'm sure so many people who can't afford it looked at that picture and thought, oh, I'd have loved a nice glass of champagne. It's just gone on the grass. Awful. Why do people have to do that? Give them a bottle of champagne and say thank you very much. Yeah, Formula One.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it now. I've seen the shaken champagne shooting out.
They do it in the nightclubs. The rappers do it.
Do they?
They love it.
I used to work in nightclubs. I would enjoy it.
Used to work in nightclubs. Well, it's not a face day, hey, of it.
Barman, and I wouldn't have enjoyed having wouldn't have enjoyed mopping up after some
What were the clubs like?
ne'er-do-well rap stars spraying champagne all over the gap.
They like a
slipping hazard.
Courvoisier.
Past the Courvoisier. Buster Rhymes. I saw him live, Buster Rhymes.
Well, you went through a rap period.
I did, I did go
Sure
for
did.
a big rap period.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, but I know I don't like that. But it did make me think that maybe magic does exist.
Did
This
it?
story. It's a bit of a coincidence. Well, we'll delve.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
Come on, a dog finds a second lottery ticket. If this was medieval times, that dog would be probably burned. You'd have to be suspicious that there was something going on. Isn't it a bit weird?
I thought the strangest thing was that they said they were looking forward to spending the money and they want to have some getaways with the dogs. Taking dogs on holiday. Weirdos.
I think the dog could be claimed 75 grand. I mean, and we found the ticket.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be the next llama, that dog.
I think
Do you believe in reincarnation?
that's the whole story.
No, I say YOLO.
Isn't the eccentric bit the fact that they get a lottery ticket and think, oh, where should we keep this? Should we put it under a magnet on the fridge door or in our wallet? Oh no, let's put it in a catalogue in the car. And then have the dogs jump about. Like, why would you do that?
No, I just keep it
Catalogue my
under
eye.
a magnet on my back. No confusion.
Come to think
Also,
of it, are you going to use that scratch card later?
because they've had 2 wins, they actually got 2 big checks. Did you see that?
Did they?
They were standing with 2 big checks. They could have made a garage door out of them if they put them
Yeah, they
together.
had to take 40 catalogues out of the car to put it in the boot.
I mean, what you've got, I'm sorry to go on about this check thing, but if I was forced to do that, I'd say, okay, if you want your check photo, I will do it. But I will do it in 2 months from now, when I've had the money and I can get myself sorted, as it were, in time for the photos.
Well, you don't want to see well-dressed people winning the lottery. That's what breaks people's hearts.
Au contraire. Those are the most seen photos of me. I want to look affluent and nice in them.
I know, but you want people to think, oh, that could have been, remember that could be you. I would use the double check to make a garage door. What do you think the local crime prevention officer would make of that as a choice? My lottery winner's door. Do you still get crime prevention officers, Daisy?
Why are you looking at Daisy?
I'm just trying to. I'm so happy I could move that far in the chair without pain. No, I know. But you'll see, yes. So yeah, I think the dog could possibly be in league with the devil.
Yeah.
Frank, I'm going down to the fat dog soon. Do you want me to have a word?
No,
Okay. I'm going there if you wish.
well, enjoy. Thanks. you.
Sounds like you
Thank
meant
you for
that.
your loyalty. I'll tell you what this does. You know, I've always been a grand hater of people who say stuff. Oh, it's like that episode of Seinfeld.
Yes.
Yes, you hate that.
But there is an
They might say it fairly
episode.
often.
There is
Yeah.
an episode of The Simpsons when he decides to spend. He draws out the family savings because he decides if you had 70,000 lottery tickets, that would really increase your chances of winning. And then he gets the same numbers on every one. And there's a terrible thing when after the big argument and all that, he goes into the room to listen to the lottery, and you hear him obviously not winning, and you hear a number and he goes, done! And you hear another number and he goes, done! But best of all, after about 4 numbers, they read one out and he goes, yeah! It was the human tragedy of hope in the face of hopelessness. Anyway, thank you so much for listening this morning, and you know, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.
Absolute Radio.
This is a song that there's a lot of Christmas songs out there, and not too many Hanukkah songs. So wrote a song for all those nice little Jewish kids who don't get to hear any Hanukkah songs. So here we go. Put on your yarmulke, here comes Hanukkah. So much Hanukkah to celebrate Hanukkah. Hanukkah Eve. Instead of one day of presents, we have 8 crazy nights. When you feel like the only kid in town without a Christmas tree, here's a list of people who are Jewish, just like you and me. David Roth lights the menorah, so do James Caan, Kirk Douglas, and the late Dinah Shore. Guess who eats together at the Carnegie Deli? Bowser from Shanana and Arthur Fonzarelli. Ornaments captured
This week's podcast does contain swearing, almost immediately in fact, so I would switch off if that's going to be a problem. And it may be that the rest of the podcast doesn't actually contain swearing, it's all just in this bit about the swearing. Because last week I said, oh, there's no swearing in the podcast apart from one use of the S word. And then it was correctly pointed out to me by several people on Twitter that I had overlooked some fucking. And that's not cool. You know, if I was on the radio, if I was on BBC Six Music still, that would lead to more than a stern chat after the show. It would probably result in the castle crumbling even further into the ground. But luckily, this is a podcast, and I can do what the fuck I want. Here we go. I added one more podcast to the giant podcast bin. Now you have plucked that podcast out and started listening. I took my microphone and found some human folk. Then I recorded all the noises while we spoke. My name is Adam Buxton, I'm a man. I want you to enjoy this, that's the plan. Hey, how you doing? Adam Buxton here. Welcome to podcast number 6, which features several conversations with an old friend, Garth Jennings. Now, if you used to listen to the BBC Six Music Show with myself and Joe, then you'll already know Garth, probably. He used to fill in for Joe every now and again when Joe was off doing his film things. And Garth was also a guest on my big mixtape show. He's one of those people, a bit like Louis, that I'm very lucky to have as a friend and helps me out whenever he can with this kind of stuff. And it's always nice to see him and good to talk to him. For those of you not familiar with Garth, let me tell you that he is a film director. When I first met him back in 1999, what a year that was! The explosion on the moon sent it out of Earth's orbit and it went spinning off with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. But elsewhere, myself and Joe were preparing to make another series of the Adam and Joe Show for Channel 4, and we met up with Garth. We were hooked up with Garth by our then producer Fenton Bailey. And Garth was then working on music videos with his company Hammer and Tongs, himself and his producer Nick Goldsmith and friend Dominic Leon. And they made some amazing music videos. One of the first ones I saw of theirs was the one, Coffee and TV, you know, the one with the little milk carton. And since then, which I believe is now in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, they have an exhibit there about the art of music video, and Garth's video for Coffee and TV is included therein. That's how good it is. And that's just the tip of the music video iceberg for Garth. He's done loads. He's done loads of really, really good ones. That's my considered critique. But he now works more or less exclusively in the world of feature films. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was his first foray into features in 2005, and he followed that up with a very different, much more personal and authored film, Son of Rambo, in 2007, which I was in, playing an angry teacher. It was brilliant. After Son of Rambo, Garth kind of wandered in the creative wilderness for a while, trying to figure out what his next move was going to be. I don't think he would resent me saying that. But for the last, nearly 5 years, he's been working on a very big studio project, which he talks a little bit more about in our conversation. He's also written a book, a children's book, called The Deadly Seven, which we don't actually speak about, but it's really good. If you've got young children, I would say, some, aged between about 6 and 11 or something, they would really enjoy it. I highly recommend it. I'm going to do an audio book, actually. That's one of the things that I'm trying to do at the moment. Nutty Root. But anyway, over the weekend, Garth and his family came to stay, and we found some time to record a couple of conversations for the podcast. We talked about how things were progressing with his film, an animated film that he is making, and we chatted about some of our favourite moments from other animated films, well, mainly Toy Story and its sequels. We also had a couple of conversations on the way to the pub. One about the danger of getting together with other people's families, including an anecdote about a run-in that Garth once had with his father-in-law, very enjoyable, and another conversation which actually might be useful for someone about how to get into an exciting industry that you have no connections to. A lot of people approach Garth asking for advice for how to get started in films. People even ask me for advice sometimes, and I always find it hard to know what to say. Often it just comes down to a question of attitude, so Garth and myself talk about that. Anyway, here we go. It's quite a long podcast this week. In fact, it might even be the longest one so far. So perhaps you can enjoy it in several sittings. As I so often say to Santa, why don't we have a jingle? I've got a nice glass of wine here. You've got your beer. It's very cosy. There's something nice about being in a room that's soundproof as well. It does make it really cosy, doesn't it? It does. It's all safe and cosy. So you're here for the weekend? Yeah. We've been coming to stay with you for probably, 10 years? On and off, at least twice a year. We do a little Buxton retreat. Because you live in the countryside, the Frost Townies. This is as good as it gets. And now you're not even an English townie. No, I'm a French townie. I live in Paris right now. We moved there 2.5 years ago because I am writing and directing a film for Universal Studios. It's an animated film with the company Illumination, who made things like Despicable Me and Minions. Oh, and they've been doing well for themselves. They're doing okay, aren't they? And so the team that made that asked me to write a film for them. We met 4 years ago. I met the head of the company just for a cup of tea, literally just a cup of tea, and talk about ideas. And after that, I said, we had this chat about a certain subject, and I was like, let me write you a little sort of synopsis, an outline, see if there's any mileage in it. Very informal. So I wrote a few pages up for an idea, and we sort of shared it and giggled about it. And then I said, all right, do you want me to write a script? And he says, yeah, let's write a script. So I wrote a script, and then I did another draft. And by the time I got to the second draft, he said, would you be up for moving to Paris, where the animation studios are, and, take your family with you and come and direct the film? And my wife had said to me before that meeting, because she has an ESP thing, she said, if he asks you to make this, just say yes, and we'll just do it and see what happens. So I said yes, right there on the spot, and then phoned Walter after the meeting. He asked us to move to Paris. We can actually do this. Walter is your wife? Walter is my wife, my lady wife. Eloise, yeah, everyone knows who Walter is. It's a long story why that name is there. But anyway, Walter said do it, and then he asked me to do it, so I said yes, and then a few months later we moved, and it's been 2.5 years now since we've been living there. That's an upheaval. How many children have you got? I've got 4 sons. And they at the time you left were aged between about 2 and one was 12 or something. Actually, we moved on the 2-year-old's birthday, so he was 3 the day we moved. On the day we moved, and because now they're 12, 10, 8, and 5. It was a massive amount of naivety in terms of we just thought, this will be great, no problem. They're young, and we'll learn to speak French and all that stuff. And you don't realise till you do something as big as that just how much you take for granted in your own life. Just knowing where to get milk from, or what time things are open, or when something needs fixing, which it does when you move into a new place with no furniture. How much you need to work out. And starting new schools, I just didn't realise. I didn't take into consideration just what a big upheaval that was. Also, then your children going, wait, so you've taken me away from all my lovely friends to a place where I don't know anyone or what anyone's saying. So there was a lot of stress. And didn't you think there was a good chance that they might actually deal quite badly with it and get a little bit depressed and antisocial? Yeah, again, I didn't really think about that. Wazza as well was very, very pro the whole thing. Let's just do it. Let's have an adventure. She'd gone out and worked it all out because I was too busy just trying to make the thing work, the story work. So yeah, we turned up in Paris, and this lovely place, the lovely part of Paris
Paris, and it's just around the corner from the studios. The animation studios themselves are right round the corner from the Eiffel Tower. You know, you literally come out the building, turn left, and there's the Eiffel Tower.
So this is an American company, right?
Yeah, they're an American studio. Illumination is based in Santa Monica, in California, Los Angeles. But all the animation, every bit of it, is done in Paris.
Why is that? Because they're just using French animators as sweatshop guys?
It's not. There's no sweatshop aspect to it. It's. I think there's a couple of things, probably a few things, and I'm sure the boss could answer this better than me. But he wanted to set up his own animation studio, and he knew trying to set one up in Los Angeles would be very difficult because you've already got Disney and you've got Pixar up the road and DreamWorks, and all these people already have covered it. So it's very hard to find a new team when everyone else has, all these other studios have absorbed pretty much all the talent in the area, in the country. So he was looking outside of America to find somewhere, and met with companies in England, I think, and France, and just connected with this chap that ran a company called McGuff. They didn't have many people there. They tried to make a feature film, and maybe a headline, I don't really know the specifics, but they just clicked. So they put a sort of scrambled together a team of about 90 people to make Despicable Me. And they had
that's all French animators?
The whole thing, all of the films are all done there. And they brought in an American director called Chris Renaud to work with Pierre Coffin, who's a French director. And the two of them sort of worked together to make that film, and then the team assembled around it. It's predominantly French, but there are a few American people, but it's mainly French films. It's now, the team in there is 720. It's huge. And again,
Not all working on your film.
no, but I've got about, it's over 100 cats. I don't actually know. I actually have to take Polaroids of everyone I'm working with and get them to write my name. And I have a whole wall in my office that is just the people I'm working with. So I can try and memorise their names between meetings and just look at this wall. They all have weird names as well. They've like abbreviated names. I just try and memorise everything. It's almost impossible.
And how long then does it take from starting work on animated video? This is going to be like a big sort of tentpole animated feature for
It is going to be a big one.
Christmas 2016?
Yeah, it's due for release. Now, the release dates can change sometimes, but it's technically...
That's what you're working towards.
Yeah, it's Christmas 2016, 21st of December, I think. And, yeah, it's a big one.
And you can't really say too much about the plot or who's in it and stuff like that because you're in, early stages of production still, I suppose.
Well, it's not early, actually. We're quite far in. We'll be done in animation by the spring next year, and we'll have delivered the film by the end of September, I think. Well, at the beginning of September next year. Yeah. And we've recorded almost all the voices, quite a lot of the music, and we're flying through the animation. It's looking amazing, but I can't talk to you about the specifics yet until it's officially announced, which could be any day. It's weird. This is 4 years now since I left for a cup of tea, and to still be working on something where I can't talk to anyone about outside of the company about what I'm doing is quite odd.
But you've got sort of A-list Hollywood talent in there.
It's ridiculous. It's really silly, and they're brilliant. They're amazing.
And how have you found
I've got
it?
you in there as well. I'm allowed to say that, aren't I?
Yeah,
You're in there.
Of course, I've got to be in there.
Dr. Buckles.
I've been in all your films, haven't I?
Yeah, I think pretty much. Yeah, no, because there's only been 2 so far. So that wasn't difficult.
I wangled my way in there.
Yeah, but you're in this one.
I've told my story before of the dreadful audition I did for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I still have a soft. I still love you even more for doing that. You went for it.
Who never heard me telling that story, the short version of it was that when I found out that Garth was going to direct, after years of being a wonderful music video director with the company Hammer and Tongs, Garth then started working on these features, and the first